All right, so we for 7.3, you're going to learn how to solve addition and subtraction equations. The first thing we need to know is this thing called an inverse operation. The definition of an inverse operation is an operation that undoes another operation. Example of that would be addition undoes sorry, undoes subtraction. So if I would add 2 to something and then immediately take 2 away, it would be like it never happened. It would undo it. Okay, so just kind of get that written down. That's called an inverse operation. Our subtraction and addition property of equality is basically what it says is if you add or subtract the same number from each side, if you add or subtract the same number from each side, the equation will still be equal. Okay. If you let's back up here. If I add or subtract, the same, if I add or subtract the same number from each side of the equation, the equation is still equal. All right, we're going to use these two rules. We're going to use these two rules to solve equations. All right, so what you always want to do is look and ask yourself what is being done to the variable. You want to undo that. Our goal is to always get the variable by itself. We want to know at the end, we want a statement to say x equals this number. We want to know what that number is. So how we do that is we use inverse operations and the fact that and basically this is kind of like the golden rule of algebra. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the exact same to the other side to keep the equation the same. So what we're going to do is we want to get what's called isolating the variable. We want to get the variable by itself. So we want everything on the same side of the variable to cancel out. How do we get things to cancel out? We use inverse operation. So what is being done to the x in this first equation? Well, 7 is being added to it. So to undo that, to get everything to cancel out, what we're going to do is subtract x. We're going to subtract 7 from it. All right, and so x plus 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, I keep messing up, we're going to subtract 7 from it because adding 7, subtracting 7 will allow us to cancel those out. But here's the deal. You can't just take 7 away from one side of the equation and not do it to the other side of the equation. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And so since we subtracted 7 on the left, all right, all we're left with on the left is x now because those canceled out, okay? So since we subtracted 7 on the left, we're also going to need to subtract 7 on the right. And we have negative 10 minus 7 is going to give us negative 17. you should always plug your answer back in. Negative 17 plus 7 equals negative 10. That should be a true statement, and it is. Okay? So, inverse operation, okay, is always the step one. Okay? And I'm just going to call it the golden rule of algebra. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the same thing to the other side. Okay? Solving a subtraction equation. Okay? Same thing here. Solving a subtraction equation. All right? You want to look at and see what is being done to the x. Well, x is 5 is being subtracted from it. So what's the opposite of that to get everything around the x to cancel out? I would want to add 5 to that. Minus 5 plus 5, that's going to cancel out and leave me with just x. All right, but whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. All right, and that's going to leave me with x equaling 17. I can plug it back in. 17 minus 5 does indeed get me to 12. All right, and so that is how we do it. So inverse operation, we're going to use inverse operation to get things to cancel out. And then whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. All right. And then always check your answer.